Well, the Nottingham Energy Partnership is an independent charity and a social enterprise. As part of being a social enterprise, we provide consultancy services to businesses who really want to reduce their carbon emissions and reduce their costs. We provide services to organisations that really want to start taking this sort of thing seriously, because our aims really are around targeting those carbon emissions. Those are our charitable aims. But what we do with the income that we make from organisations that do engage with us is reinvest that money back into communities to actually help householders and communities reduce their energy consumption and their carbon emissions, and combating things like fuel poverty. We reinvest 100% of our profit back into households and communities. It's not just a sort of fig leaf green initiative. This is what we do. The 5 most common barriers really for businesses engaging with carbon reduction: one, it's not part of the main thrust of their organisation's activities. If it's a health organisation, they're more concerned with providing healthcare. Education is more concerned with teaching people, and businesses are often more concerned with selling their product. And actually, taking a sort of sideways step and looking at something which is a bit more peripheral is often a bit of a problem. And you really have to know a good idea that you're going to make some significant savings there before you even start opening that door. That's one of the main barriers. I think it's not part of the main thrust of an organisation. Another is the difficulty maybe getting impartial advice that isn't going to cost more than the savings you're going to make. Really that's one of the ways that we come in. We don't charge very much. I shouldn't say that, but we don't charge that much. But we do provide impartial advice and guidance, and as a charity we're interested in the carbon savings. That's a critical barrier. Another thing is around disruption. I mean, businesses don't want to have disruption to their operations, really. This can't disrupt the main thrust of working your key business area. But then I think that's often a misconception. There's a lot of things you can do to avoid disruption. No cost, low cost and low intervention activities that reduce energy bills quite considerably. I mean, I think those would be my top 3. I think barriers and how to overcome those barriers, really. I think, beyond that, in larger organisations you get organisational issues where it's not what we usually do. You need to get commitment from the top within an organisation, a larger organisation, to actually make sure that people start to push this into their daily life. If you start working at intermediary levels, it becomes a lot harder. I think that's often an issue, because we've developed businesses in a world where energy was cheaper. And we developed our mindsets in a world in which energy was cheaper. Actually, getting it integrated into a business mentality that efficiency and sustainability are critical business considerations is an important point. Over the next couple of years, while we've had fairly level energy prices, maybe over the last year or so, energy prices are going to go up again. There's almost a no-brainer that they're going to go up again, and businesses really do need to be looking at now reducing energy costs. It's not just energy costs that are going up; it's the cost of everything associated with energy. So the carbon costs as well. Now 1,200 companies have been roped into sort of carbon accounting, legally mandated carbon accounting, as of next April. And that's on top of the carbon reduction commitment. That already covers a lot of larger businesses. So businesses need to accept that this is going to become more and more mandated, more and more legally mandated, and there's going to become an increasingly stringent sort of financial or forceful financial reasons to do this. So in terms of what businesses can do to reduce their energy costs going forward, I think the first thing that you need to do is understand how much energy you consume and how much it costs you. I would say undertaking a full scope 1, 2 and 3 carbon footprint, which is the sort of thing that Nottingham Energy Partnership will do with businesses, gives you that initial baseline. You know how much you consume in terms of energy, fuel, waste, even beyond just energy consumption. Then once you've got that, making sure you're buying it at the lowest price, making sure that you're not spending money unnecessarily, and actually looking at your tariff structures and reducing your cost per unit is the next step. Clearly, because that doesn't really cost you anything, and it's immediate savings without actually investing anything. And that's the sort of thing that Torse does. So then beyond that, there's the sort of working on the lower cost or no cost type measures. That's generally working with your staff to support your staff to undertake sort of switching off lights and turning off computers when they're not needed, and this sort of thing. Energy efficient behaviour, and often in that case you can get somebody in to talk through your staff about the issues and sort of identify areas of savings. Often providing staff with the smart metering data is quite a useful tool. I mean, so actually fitting better metering into your business, so you can provide the information to your staff to give that positive feedback. You turned off the lights all this week; it's saved this amount of energy. So I'd say behaviour change, and then sort of smart metering and linking those two things together. Beyond that, I mean, smart metering is very low cost. You can often approach your energy supplier and ask them to install a smart meter. In fact, by 2017, I think all businesses, possibly 2019, all businesses are going to have smart meters anyway across the UK. But you can go early and get these things installed more quickly than that. And that allows you to unlock the sort of 5 to 8% in terms of energy savings from just changing behaviour, turning your boilers off at sort of the hour at the end and the hour at the beginning of the day when you wouldn't need them maybe. I mean, that goes into the sort of next level of things you can do, really, which is basically simple building energy management. Not even engaging with your staff. It's just about making sure that your boiler isn't operating out of sort of odd hours. Making sure once you've looked at your detailed smart metering data that you don't have things that cycle on halfway through the night and then go off again, unnecessarily. So you're starting to sort of build up to the sort of things which might start to need a bit of consultant support. At that level, you might need somebody to come in and look at your bills and actually analyse them and say, actually, what's this? And again, that's something we have partners that we work with around providing that sort of consultant support. Then beyond that, you start getting to things which actually cost money. So I mean, and all this process beforehand really hasn't really cost you very much, but you may well have saved quite significantly on your bills. I mean, obviously, initially, the quickest wins are usually insulation. Insulating your buildings, cavity wall insulation, loft insulation, maybe even looking at improving windows, but that is a fairly long payback. Just thermal insulation usually works. And talking with your landlord or your building owner is quite a good route through to that. And then through things like commercial lighting has a very quick payback. So upgrading older lighting to newer lighting is usually the next sort of consideration. So if we want to talk about the more fashionable end of energy technology, you're really sort of starting to talk about renewable energy systems, things like photovoltaics, solar water heating, wind turbines, biomass, ground source heat pumps, that sort of thing. Really, I mean, there's a hierarchy of how you should interact with energy saving and energy generation, and that's really managing your energy first, measuring your energy, then reducing it, doing the untrendy stuff, but then getting through to the more exciting stuff like PVs and photovoltaics and wind turbines. Most roofs, if they're south facing or southeast to southwest facing, can accommodate photovoltaics, as long as you have got the appropriate surveys done and all the rest of it. And actually, the sort of money you can make off photovoltaics, even now with the changes in the feed-in tariff regimes, is still fairly significant. They still offer roughly a 10% return on investment, which isn't bad for something that also makes you look pretty good. In terms of things like wind turbines and biomass and ground source heat pumps, they're more site specific. If you're on the top of a hill, yes, a wind turbine's a good idea. If you're near a good source of biomass, then maybe a biomass system might be more appropriate. If you're building a new building and you want heating and cooling, then ground source heat pumps might be a good idea. But they're all more site specific, more expensive, higher investment. But obviously with things like the feed-in tariffs and the renewable heat incentive, the return on investment has improved quite considerably for those technologies, and it's really worth still considering them. But as I say, the hierarchy is measure and manage first, things like smart metering, then reduce, and then start looking at generating your own energy from things like renewables. Really, if businesses do want to undertake those first steps into measuring, then managing and reducing their energy consumption, their carbon emissions, the best thing to do is to contact us, to give us a call, really, or to go onto our website, www.notenergy.com. And really, yes, get in touch, and we'll arrange to talk you through the sort of process that are involved.